Welcome to Redeem and Restore Center's Human Trafficking and Exploitation 101 training. You are my favorite person because you are not afraid of the truth, that you're willing to hear uncomfortable things to know what is true and what is not true. So thank you. Please take a look at your packet that hopefully you are able to open as well. We are promoting awareness that leads to prevention, intervention, and restoration for many shattered people from human trafficking. The next page, your content. So there's 4 modules. I'm going to start out with just telling you a little bit about Redeem and Restore Center and then get into the meat of it all in module 2. That probably is the longest, not probably, it is the longest part of this training. We'll touch on a little deeper of these victims' issues that goes deeper and more hopeful in the next training in 102. And then, of course, talk about the possibilities of volunteering and becoming a partner with Redeem and Restore because we can't do this without people like you. It is not just the few. We always need people doing what they are able to do and what they're gifted to do to support our community and support the women that we walk alongside. So if you want to open up the packet, if you haven't, to page 3, we're going to get right in here to module 1. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, I really am so pleased that you are here to learn, and I'm hoping that you do learn and are encouraged at the same time. Redeem and Restore Center was established in 2013. We are a nonprofit, and this module is going to be how do we love, restore, and support women? So first, a little bit about me, because I am the founder and executive director of Redeem and Restore Center, if you did not know. A little bit about me, I'll start out, is I did this by overcoming my shattered identity from abandonment and sexual abuse that started in childhood to now living the God-given mission to gather people together to join Jesus in turning women's lives from shattered to shining. What an honor it is to do this, and what a journey it's been to get here. I have been an independent, strong-willed girl that learned that Jesus needed to be CEO of every area of my own life. And as I did that, my life was much more blessed and much easier and not so lonely and hard. I started Redeem and Restore Center in 2013 with 2 young kids at home, leaving our entrepreneurial businesses with my husband and juggling part-time jobs. I became a chaplain, a crisis intervention specialist, a life coach, a trauma care certified leader, and I continue to learn and help lead others because, right, life is a journey. And so I will continue to always learn, and I love to learn and share what I learn with others. I have learned through the experience of leading this ministry and walking alongside some of the most shattered lives that you can imagine that this is the greatest adventure. His blessings, provision, grace, and power is partnering with Jesus, and he invites you to do the same. I'm telling you, it's so much more freeing and so much more blessed, and it is an honor. As I said, it was a journey to get here. Here I am back when I was 11, 12 years old, born into a very abusive relationship. My mother married my father and then not long after was divorced because of the danger that I was in. We all have our different versions of normal. This is what I knew to be my normal. I knew abandonment and loneliness because after that, I didn't see my father again until I was 18 years old. So I've known loneliness. And then in 5th grade, when my mom was preparing to get married, and in that time frame around this picture, this is right after they're married, I believe that year within them being married, it was when I first experienced sexual abuse by an older boy that I never shared with anyone. So I've carried and known the weight of shame for so long as well. And then how all that affected me growing up, the choices I made in school and high school, the things that I allowed, that I did, gave me so much shame. They were my filters. They were how I related and connected. They were revealing my desperation to be seen, to be known, to be valued and loved. I can tell you much worse stories, of course, of tragedy about the women that we love, restore, and support. And it all started with their vulnerability as well. Vulnerabilities like yours and mine, age, dreams, abuse, someone manipulating them through their vulnerabilities, and then entrapping them into this no life, as I call it, being used as a product, not even treated as a human of value other than for money, as property. Not only did it destroy their true identity, but it destroyed their desires and their need to be authentically connecting with others for relationship as a slave, owned and controlled by others. But he has sent me and he has sent others, just like Jesus, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, release from darkness the prisoners. And I want you to know, as long as they have breath, there is hope. No matter what they've survived, no matter what they've experienced, just like those that have been in concentration camps were able to live, survive, and even heal of some things and start families. As John 10:7 says, I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief only comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Yet God promises that he has come that they may have life and have it to the full. And I've experienced that for myself and seen it for many others. And that is what I want them to know, the freedoms, the healing of knowing who they are and that they are loved and valued, and know the lies that they've accepted. So the mission and vision of Redeem and Restore Center, it really is about us coming together and how we can love, restore, and support women who have been sexually exploited and trafficked, and support them as a whole person, physically, mentally, relationally, emotionally, and spiritually. So each of them can heal, reclaim their identities, discover and fulfill their God-given purpose in this journey of restoration. This isn't the end all to be all. Once they're done with us, they're all together. Just like you and I, we're on a journey. Life is a journey, but we want to provide as much support and foundational healing as possible so they can start over, dream, live, do the things they were made to do, and no longer be held down by the lies and the beliefs in their heart that have kept them broken and trapped. And our vision really includes you creating and fostering a culture of love and restoration and support where all individuals can grow in their God-given purpose. That is what I want for everyone. By exposing the truths of evil and trauma, educating, collaborating with individuals and organizations, offering safe space where together that all of us are invited in a healing of journey for redemption, purpose, life. Really, without appropriate individualized help, many victims return to their trafficked life, even more convinced than before that help and hope are not attainable. Without proper follow-up care, victims can go deeper into despair and depression. Good intentions is not acceptable. We need training, understanding, realization so we don't cause further harm. Oops, my screen went too far. I apologize for that. 5 areas of traumatization, as you see on your screen. They've been broken in everything that makes them human. Victims are not able to just walk away from this type of level of abuses and trauma and just start a new life alone. We are all made for relationship. We are made for relationship with our Creator. We are made for relationship, how we were born to a mother and father, what his intentions was of that relationship, of the family unit, of community. We can heal, grow, and dream and overcome all things through healthy relationships. This is our foundation. This is where I lead from. This is how I teach, that we can walk alongside people as coaches, mentors, teachers, and as friends, so that we can heal every area, the physical, emotional, psychological, relational, spiritual brokenness in tandem. You can't separate them. Yes, our physical body is separate from emotional, but not really. It's entangled. You'll learn through other training, if you didn't know, the body stores trauma. The body remembers our relationships, triggers in life, things that we see, things that people say, connect to other things in us. It is all connected. These are not separate pieces of us. So that's why we need to work on all of them in tandem. It's about the survivor-centered response, focusing on them as a whole individual, the context and their experience. And as I said, minimizing possibilities of re-victimization, which can be so unintentional, but we want to try to be more intentional. Facilitating growth, resilience, healing, helping have very strong boundaries for safety of individuals and the staff and the supporters who work with them. It's like a family unit. So just like it should be in a family, there are certain rules you are not to break. You are not to leave doors unlocked throughout the night for safety. You are not to bring in drugs into the home. You are not to just punch someone because you feel like it and they made you mad. There are good rules that should be followed for everyone's safety. So those are rules and things that we set up, boundaries that we teach, and teach them to set up boundaries in even more personal, in interpersonal ways as well. But because we want to respect their choices and give control over their recovery, which you'll see throughout the trainings, how we do that in various ways. It's a partnership with the survivor, not control. We are to plant seeds, till the soil, and water. It's not our responsibility for their total transformation. It can't be. I can't fix you and you can't fix me. Right? We can, in relationship, we can encourage, empower, offer opportunities, but it is each individual's choice. So it's up to them and God. We can never love them enough. Nope. You may already know, I remember a certain circumstance with my daughter that made me think of how I wanted to love the ladies as much as I love my kids, and how I can, but I also can't. I need to just love them all, but also release them, right? Release them. I can't control what they choose. I can't control and protect them from everything. So we'll strive for excellence in each detail, providing the best possible care, bringing honor and glory to God in what we do, because that's who we represent as an organization. And we want to be intentional about that. So it's really a mindset of, it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. That mindset and the attitude that we come to them with that. We have partnered and will continue to partner and collaborate with many organizations within Wisconsin and throughout the U.S., as we have done. So ways that we do that, we've had events, awareness education. We go into teach business organizations, Wisconsin clerks, medical assistants, high school students, history classes, church groups, family groups, for education, for empowerment, for fundraising, for blessing, as you see in the picture with the law enforcement. We have a law enforcement blessing drive that we try to do at least once a year and bless certain police departments and let them know that we care about them and want to have that relationship with them. Really, everything is about supporting others and how we walk alongside the women. As here's some great pictures to quick show, going to the woods, going for a walk, teaching crochet, supporting and being with animals, again, connecting and experiencing life together, want to have authentic reality of the brokenness of people, empowering truth to protect and support those that we love, people in our families, the community, students. We do outreach to strip clubs, offering love and support of Jesus. Advocacy for women survivors we connect with through coaching, mentoring, and classes. Stabilization housing, 2-year supportive living program, transitional living and support. However we can support them, what they need, what they're willing to do is what we want to offer. What coaching one-on-one groups look like. They're classes on boundaries that everyone in life should do as a family or in school, but they don't. I wish I knew these things when I was younger. Forgiveness, classes on healing the body, the soul, and the spirit. Trauma, understanding the truth about trauma. Sex trafficking, Bible foundations, and much more. We do individual care plans and goals with the ladies, what they want, what are their short-term goals, how can we help support them, and then celebrating them as they reach those goals and then create new goals. Here are pictures again of housing that we've had, that providing beautiful spaces to meet, safety for them. We also have inner healing and deliverance as a big part of what we do. The inner healing is huge, providing opportunities with the Lord that He can reveal things to them that are hidden and expose lies. Meet with Him to help heal those deep wounds in moments. Just coming before His presence, that's what they get to do with Him. It's an opportunity for them to choose healing and freedom and shut out the lies and the works of the enemy and release that to Him and take the freedom that He gives. Providing art therapy, again with mentors outside, classes, equine assisted therapy, writing therapy, music therapy, gardening therapy. Research shows with writing therapy that it decreases many health conditions, improves cognitive functions, strengthens immune systems, counteracts negative effects of stress. So we encourage lots of journaling. We give journaling prompts, things like that. Gardening, again, gardening to grow flowers and vegetables on our own property, going to places where there's gardens just to walk through it, the peacefulness, the different frequencies from the birds and the plants and the trees and the water is another wonderful experience for them as well. We provide, as you see on your screen, health service, connection to health services, necessities of food, clothing, shelter, training and help with physical, financial assistance and understanding mindsets with money, transportation, connection to legal assistance, and lots of trauma-focused, survivor-focused emotional recovery. Again, walking alongside the women is what we do. Taking them to the water, creating things, living life. And as you'll see on your packet, I forgot to mention the pages, but on your packet, page 7, how survivors come to RRC. Volunteers, survivors, jail, drug detox programs, referral networks, Homeland Security, FBI, police, website, social media. All these kinds of things are different ways that they have come to find us already and continue to connect with us.
In the midst of darkness, light keeps us moving on and going on and ministering on. When there's so much darkness around us, it makes the darkness even endless. 350 kids in the water, almost 2 dozen it's right there, and there's light in the middle of this darkness. Is there light in the middle of this chaos? Is there light in the middle of this?
I am Chaplain Krista Hull. I am the founder and executive director of Redeem and Restore Center, and we get to walk alongside women that have been trafficked or exploited. Human trafficking is a big and complex issue, but in reality, it is in some ways very easy to understand. It's basically, where do evil people live? Where do vulnerable people live? And that's everywhere. And that is where human trafficking happens, everywhere. So victims have some form of vulnerability, which again can be at any point of their life. And so they're drawn in and then manipulated to do things that they would never imagine to do. So the amount of trauma is very extreme. And this is trauma that happens day in and day out, all day long, no days off. For me, I was living my life and following God with my family, but I felt it was just another form of survival. I wasn't really living. And after 3 years of really just seeking Him and getting to know God the Father, He began to lead me in little teeny steps. And it was obvious to me so quickly that the need for women that have been broken in so many ways was a restorative care home. Intervention looks like going into strip clubs and working with other groups that do prison outreach and street outreach. It's just going in to bring the light of Jesus into the pit, into the darkness, and just see them as people, not as a stripper, not as a prostitute, but as a person who needs to be loved and needs to know there's so much more for them. And then, of course, the restoration, the part that gets me the most excited. I look at the junk in my life and how much and how long it took for me to overcome that. And I look at them and I'm inspired by them all the time. Every time they make a good choice, I'm in awe and I'm inspired because they have so much to overcome. And of course, Jesus, who is the ultimate redeemer and the restorer. We can do a lot of things on our own that on our own are just band-aids, but with Him together we can do so much and help point them to Him so they can have complete restoration as they walk through their journey. Just seeing that hope is possible, that redemption and restoration is possible, even though I can barely comprehend the darkness they've survived. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that God knows me and that He wants to use me, and I get to be a part of His plans. And I want to see lives changed. So it's not hard to do the work that I do.
I just want to end this module on one thing. I share this picture with April because I learned so much from her. She is the first survivor I had ever met. And as you see her here, her beautiful smile, this is at her first birthday party that she had, and I got to go. And again, her smile, her gifts of singing, speaking is just natural, and she's wonderful. And today she runs a nonprofit for young vulnerable girls called Rubies. And as long as they have breath, there is hope. God has been redeeming her story and her life for years now. And she is a shining light to many others that have been hurt and broken. And this is what a willing person and God can do. She is a great example of what is possible and what God can do. So, anyhow, moving forward to our next module, the Sex Trafficking 101, the whole name of the class here, right? Module 2, the what, the who, the how, the where, the why. How do you wrap your, how in the world does this happen? And who are these people that do these things? And, if you really think about it for a little bit, you could figure that out. But again, when we're not involved in it, we're just like, why? How could it be so bad? But people are that bad. And there is an enemy who is out to destroy us and then gets other broken people to agree to do horrific and evil things to other people. because everyone was created for purpose and meaning for God, but again, we all have choices. So, anyhow, 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. That's a lot of broken people. And yeah, they get over it. They move forward, they live their life, but it affects them whether they realize it or not. And as I said, as I may not have said, it's the first time. Because usually, probably 99.9%, it happens again. And then the more it happens, then it happens even more. And now they just expect it and even allow it in some ways. 1 in 5 women, 1 in 71 men will be raped in their lifetime. Yikes. So much evil, so much brokenness. Again, leading to different versions of normal for people. What was normal for them, right? There we go.
Americans care a lot about money. We talk about jobs and taxes and paychecks, but here's what we don't talk about. Right here in the United States, there is a thriving underground economy based on selling children for sex. If sex sells, then business is good. Look at all the money. It was almost $1 billion in this study. But these dirty profits come at a huge cost. This is how sex traffickers do business. It's about supply and demand. First, they need someone to sell. Traffickers target children in their own homes. They find them by combing through social media profiles looking to spark a conversation. The trafficker targets preteens and teens by finding an end, something to bond over and earn their trust. It could be the promise of a modeling career. They might buy them drugs or alcohol, or provide protection from an already dangerous situation at home. Traffickers gain psychological control and use violent threats to force victims to stay. Once the child is isolated from family and friends, the trafficker puts them up for sale. This is where the demand comes in. Traffickers use internet sites to connect with buyers or Johns, but calling them Johns is too polite. They are abusers. They are purchasing kids for sex. So, who are these buyers? Court records show they've been teachers, pastors, cops, and judges. They could be the guy next door. The trafficker gets the money, the buyer gets sex, the child victim gets exploited and sold. So, how is this different from prostitution, pornography, or other sexual acts? These victims are minors. Legally, they cannot consent. This isn't the movies. It's not like Pretty Woman or Taken. Richard Gere is not the buyer. Liam Neeson isn't there to save the day. This is sexual exploitation. This is trafficking. This is modern day slavery. It's selling girls.
That was about kids. And it often starts when they are kids. But it doesn't mean that when they become 18, they magically know that they're an adult and they can choose and walk away. It's become their normal. So as I said, we all have different normals. What does her normal look like? What does your normal look like? We all suffer pain. Love never fails, real love. And healthy relationships are how we can heal and grow, because that's how humans are made. As you look on your packet on page 8, you'll see, and on your screen, that what the federal definition is of sex trafficking. The what? It's the recruiting, the harboring, transporting, provisioning, or obtaining of a person age 18 or older for labor or services. Using the methods, the how, force, fraud, or coercion, or all three. For the purpose, the why, to subjugate them to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt bondage, slavery. Again, they're trying to use all these words to encapsulate all the different ways that people are exploited and trafficked. And as you heard in the video, and as you just saw in counteraction to that, is age 18 in this federal law. Because if they're under age 18, you don't need to prove the how, because technically they cannot consent, as the video said. But still, unfortunately, some judges, some lawyers, or whatever, they look at a girl who has been used, dressed up, performed, and she looks so mature, looks older than that. And well, she did these horrid things and actually ignore that part of cannot consent under the age of 18. But even so, if people can look at kids that way, how do you think they look at adults? They look down at them, right? Yeah. So, trafficking, it is ugly, it is real. It is a moral and spiritual issue, and it will not be stopped by laws, rescues, or education. We share the truth to empower others, to give hope for the hurting and the shattered. Human trafficking has become the #1 illegal industry in the world. Yes, it's an industry because there's a product, a business leader, and there's demand. If there's no demand, there's no business, right? So the demand continues to grow. The technologies that we have that are helpful that we're using today can be used for bad, can be used for good. And we probably have heard of different ways, again, videos being shared, even old technology used to share. Now it's easier. Now it's electronic. I can share videos electronically or have passwords to websites to watch videos, to participate in different kinds of experiences. So, where do these vulnerable people live? Who are they? Vulnerable people live everywhere, right? Not just in inner cities or in foreign countries. They live in rural areas, they live in big cities, they live in our suburbs. And the same of where does the evil people live and where do they work? Everywhere. This is why sex trafficking, human trafficking happens everywhere. And I want to point out human trafficking encapsulates a little wider than just sex trafficking. Again, it could be for labor in massage parlors, but that is also for sex, but it's under labor and then sex. It could be in restaurants, it can be in farm fields. But I also want to let you know when you own someone, like you have that much power and control, then often they are also sexually abused as well. Whether they're sold for sex is another thing, but again, they're controlled, they're owned, slave. You know, people don't evolve. We learned about slavery growing up in school. People would buy and sell people from all countries all the time. Anyone they found less fortunate or they could pay a family to buy someone from, they did. And they still do that. They just found all these other ways. And more variety, more people, more accessibility has led to more opportunities of evil and disgusting things. Now, any numbers that you ever hear or see, hold them loosely. It's not like we can find every victim. It's not like we can ask every person. So these are the best estimates, guesstimates is what I call them. But based on those that we've served, that people have served, talked with, 90% of trafficked women are sex trafficked. Sex trafficking is using the force, fraud, or coercion, the purposes of commercial exploitation. I'm sorry, my brain goes so fast sometimes that my mouth is trying to speak as fast as my brain, which also is not helpful for you because you got to hear and process, and I keep talking. So at least my mouth cannot speak as fast of what's in my head. And so I apologize for the stumbling over my words at times. As you'll see on your screen, the products and on page 9 of your booklet. Who are our victims? Who are the products? I put that there to again get that mindset of how they're treated. How it's all cultures, all ages, infants, yes, infants and up, even older people. I don't know if you saw if you're in the Wisconsin Waukesha area, but just last year I was just like, what? A younger guy raped an elderly lady outside by the library. What? Yeah, it has no boundaries with brokenness. There's no boundaries. Our citizens are the most that are trafficked in the US. I bring that up only to point out because a lot of people think that's just foreign people being brought into our country. And I can tell you it is a lot of foreigners brought into our country, especially since the borders changed. But not that they're any less valuable than United States citizens. But I want to just get you to understand these are people in your neighborhoods, maybe someone in your family, because again, most of the survivors we first connected with were from community volunteers, family members. The victims are all over the place, everywhere. And so please, just get your head out of these preconceived ideas and thoughts and begin to understand the enormity and of this, not to be weighted down, just to know the truth, because I'm telling you there's lots of hope. And this being here in this training is about that hope for you as well. We will go into vulnerability after I read what's on your booklet in page 8. There's possible victim identifiers and possible grooming for victim identifiers. So like people in your sphere, your realm, your children, your neighbor's children, family's children, or even young adults going off to college again, because even media, video, photography, modeling can be groomed and turned into offering many other things as well for pornography, which leads to many other things. So they could have no dream of the future, dress less appropriately. To me, that's much harder to see nowadays because basically you can walk around in bras and underwear and it's acceptable clothing. If they have DID, schizophrenia, bipolar, those could be victim identifiers of, again, some type of abuse, not specific to trafficking, but it could be. They have new expensive stuff, new older friends or boyfriends, starts breaking rules, other things like this. These could be, again, they could be signs of other types of abuse and control, not specific to sex trafficking. But again, being a victim, those red flags are often the same for all kinds of abuses. Some different things about being controlled and owned is, the beatings, but those are always seen. Specific types of tattoos can be put on people, but that isn't always straightforward either. It could be someone's name or a picture that wouldn't clarify to you that, oh, they're owned or being trafficked. But these are things to pay attention to and take notice that maybe someone needs help regardless. So vulnerability, it is really all about vulnerability. If they're under the age of 25, you're not fully emotionally or mentally developed. That was a huge helpful thing for me in beginning to release shame for all the things, the stupid things I did and allowed, is because I was under 25. It's like I knew some things in my head, but again, in my heart, where your beliefs come from, where your actions, what you authentically live comes from your heart, what you truly believe about yourself. So, broken families, abuse, poverty, substance abuse of a parent. Oh, gonna knock down my light. Or of yourself. Dreams. Yes, dreams can be manipulated. Anything can be manipulated. If people who know how to read other people That is a big deal. And they look for people. Again, they could even hunt for vulnerable people who they could use for their own purposes. It is that bad. Family secrets. Maybe they're involved in pedophilia, the lack of love or attention. And as you see on your screen, the number one thing that's at the bottom of all of these things is everybody wants to be valued, known, treasured, and loved, and nobody receives that perfectly from other humans. As parents, we fall short at times, or even seasons, or all together. We bring our own brokenness, our own wounds into parenting. We don't know everything. We haven't healed from everything. So there is always a desire looking for some more of that. Jesus is the one who sees us, knows us, and values us. But again, learning that often comes through relationships with others as well. So that's the how, the vulnerability. And here's another number: 66 to 90% of adults in the sex industry were first victims of child abuse. I'd say it definitely is closer to 90% from what I'm finding and what I'm experiencing. Where, then the last thing on your page, on page 9, and here's a diagram that was made years ago. And gosh, I think it was back in 2012, 2013. This was, again, a report, but it's based off of the questions they ask. One thing that isn't shown on here is familial. And what we've learned by people experiencing, supporting, and walking alongside victims, helping them heal, is that actually familial is number one. People in their own family, like pedophilia, but even beyond that, are doing this to people they know and should protect and care about. The second is other relationships, a romantic relationship, as you'll see that big red thing. That is number 2 on how they're recruited, is through a relationship, whether it started in a public setting, online, wherever they can meet people, that's where it is. But sporting events, modeling, as I said, a school, even in schools, a cheerleader back in 2013, 2014 in Minnesota was dating an older boy and got her to recruit every other girl on that team to be exploited by him. Why? Because she's so horrific? No, because there was promises of being better with her. And so she did it out of survival. Again, illusion of choice. But that is what happened. So it can happen anywhere. And it continues on page 10. Strip clubs, truck stops, brothels, pornography, online prostitution, street prostitution, barns, military bases, hotels, motels, secret locations. It happens anywhere a place is accessible, usable by the people looking to perpetrate their violence, their rituals, their desires. So now you're going, okay, you're telling me it's family. You're telling me it could be in my neighborhood. No way. Who could it be? They can't be these people. Well, as you'll see on your screen, who are the traffickers and the pimps? Every one of these faces, they've been arrested for selling someone. It is real. Again, their circumstances, their normal, what led them to make these choices, to say, I'm going to sell them. I'm going to manipulate them. Ooh, I'm going to get money. Ooh, she's mine. He's mine. I own them. What, right? What gets in their head? What did they experience that got them to that position to make those choices? Again, I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving a setup of a little bit of understanding of how did they get there? How do people get to this point to sell people? It could be an intimate partner from a gang member. It could be a classmate, again, owner of the farm, a girlfriend. It could be religious people, government people, secret societies. You'll see grandmas, grandpas, young people, old people, men and women selling people, because some of these pictures, these could be the same pictures of people buying sex. It really could be. They are actually people who are arrested for real. But the dynamics of the differences is the same for those that buy. So who are the buyers? I mean, first to even get to that level, to buy someone, to pay to have sex. Well, maybe you've heard this or seen it in movies of how it's almost culturally accepted, at least in some areas of culture in the US, to, oh, you're older. Hey, let's go out to the strip club. Hey, why don't you get yourself a woman and experience what that is? Other countries, it is very part of culture in different ways. It looks a lot different in different countries, but again, it's the same dynamic because we are all humans. There's just some cultural differences in how it looks and what is more open and what is more hidden, depending what country you live in. The thing you'll see on your screen next to me is the demand. The demand is the buyers. And I feel like I just realized that this could be bigger, so I'm attempting that. Ah, yes. Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize it was still interesting. Ah, only so big. But okay. The demand. They call it the great hobby. They call themselves hobbyists on chat rooms and online websites that they go to. This was a study, a brief study that was done in 2012 in Chicago area of 2,900 buyers that were arrested for purchasing sex. Again, the dynamic of differences, age 20 to 71, racially diverse, middle class generally because they had to have money. Okay, that's who was arrested. 93% had never been arrested before. Yet, we know paying and buying sex is illegal. Police have been arresting prostitutes on street corners forever, almost forever. 86% were scheduled online to purchase the sex and met somewhere. Why do they do this? Why do they pay for sex? Because they're acting out porn. See how porn is intimately connected? Same with strip clubs. Acting out violence. Again, unhealed wounds, brokenness, control, power. One pimp told a survivor that he's sorry he's like this when he was at a low point. He had such a horrible relationship with his mother, and his mother was so abusive that his violence came out of the violence he experienced from his mother. Again, not an excuse, an understanding. And then also they feel entitled. Well, I paid for this. They accepted. I get what I pay for. So then they put out this veil, this wall of knowing, especially because when they buy underage, especially in that case, they're putting out this veil, a wall of like, it's okay. They want this. And again, those that are being sold, that are being bought, they do have to perform. They do have to do something to try to survive. Again, their desires, their requests, because there are different requests. It isn't just having sex. There's often other things involved. Again, perversities, because they're trying to get excited, so they get more perverted to get excited. And so again, survivors need to do what they need to do to survive. I'm sorry that was disgusting, but that's the reality of it. So it's about culture, power, pornography, and fantasy. Again, these buyers could be attorneys, fathers, uncles, CEOs, nurses, teachers, government leaders, be in powerful positions, be police officers. Again, just because they have a job that is a respectful job doesn't mean that person is really living up to that level of respect. Because again, each person gets to make their own decisions. And sometimes some people that are in places of power, again, goes to their head and they exert that power in different ways. So if we were together live, there would be questions. I would ask you, is there anything that struck you or surprised you? If there are questions, write them down, email me, contact me. I'm open for that, really. There's a page at Quick Facts. These numbers are, a lot of these numbers are old. As you'll see, 2012, 2013, 2024. There's a little few newer, but it's very hard to get numbers on some of these basic knowledge of trafficking. 98% of victims are trafficked are women and girls. Just think of, again, most strip clubs are for women. Pornography was mostly always for women. That's a cultural thing. That's changed a little bit, unfortunately. The level of who watches porn is kind of evened out, but it's for very different reasons. So it's still applicable that way, but the reasons why girls and women watch porn is because they're looking for ways to keep someone, to entice them, to make them love them, to make them want them, to again, to be better, to be everything someone wants so that they can have that relationship, that attention. So again, looking in the wrong direction and the wrong things. Also looking because of the opportunities for them to make money, webcamming, pornography, movies. 47%, 40%. Wow, I don't know how my mind did that one. 47% believe that evil forces kept them exploited. 64% believe they were trapped because of threats to others. Another reason why they don't just walk away. There's many reasons. That's a big one. 11% or less accept the diagnosis of bipolar, schizophrenia, or DID. And DID is dissociative identity disorder. It used to be a multiple personality disorder. Those that we have worked with at Redeem and Restore Center, 93% have had DID. 73% have been SRA, which is satanic ritual abused. And over 60% of traffickers were family. 5 out of 6 rescued in these nationwide stings are adults. Because again, whether they started as a kid or adult, it's not that they're an adult and they can just make these choices and walk away. What is their normal? What got them to believe this is it, or this is all I can do, or what else can I do? Who will accept them? Nationwide, there's about 115 restorative care homes types of facilities serving 8 to 10 survivors at a time. And there's also drop-in centers, street outreach, and things like that available around the country. All right, we're going to move to Module 3, Victims and Issues. This is page 12 in your packet. And this is the intro of what makes them a victim, besides the obvious being sold and used for sex, but a little more details. And the 5 areas of traumatization, a little bit more detail on that as well. As you see in your packet, I have a quote from a book. The effect of this extreme darkness, its accompanying sexual violence, is the emotional, spiritual, psychological death of victims, which leaves them as empty shells, that were once innocent girls. I want to also say this is what I describe as these are truly the walking dead. Right? Think of, again, people in concentration camps. I go to there a lot because I studied that a lot growing up, and it was all part of preparation, I guess. Really, have you seen pictures of what they look like? They were experimented on. They were starved. They were beaten. They were used as slave labor in concentration camps. So it is the same thing. It looks different. They're not all experimented on, but I will say those in ritual abuse and things are and are used in other ways. But these are truly like The Walking Dead, like the show. No, like that's for real. Survival is not living. Survival is coping. Survival is surviving. It is not living. Victims, as I said, are in the packet or Walking Dead. The incest, the child abuse, this rape, sexual violence, pornography, prostitution, ritual abuse, sex trafficking in all its insidious forms has and is occurring with alarming frequency and it's all entwined together. I'll show you 5 photos of 2 victims after their arrests and what it looked like for them. Can you see the differences? How they look okay? The first one, and as the more they come, the more broken they look in different ways. You can see, like one, I'm going to say she's on drugs for sure. She's still high right there. But, this isn't from drugs. This isn't from just drugs. This is the physical abuse they endure that you can physically see. And I'm going to tell you that what you see on the outside doesn't even begin to show the brokenness and the shatteredness within them. That's what takes a lot longer to heal. Here is an example of one that was exploited and why. And there's so many similarities to this example and to many others. No story is the same. There may be a lot of similarities throughout their stories, their journey of abuse and exploitation, but it's the same. It becomes a cycle. And the more you're abused, the more you've experienced, the more you just take it, the more you feel trapped. So as Alicia, as a young girl at age 14, she's a minor, but there's abuse at home. So she runs away because she's trying to escape it. But running away, obviously, as we know, where's that going to lead her? To more trouble, more struggles. It's not necessarily better. It's just going to be different struggles. So now she has more vulnerabilities now that she ran away. She meets a guy, a boyfriend, who promises to love and take care of her. Right? Yay, someone's here. She's got a connection, a relationship. This is going to be helpful. But after gaining her trust, he manipulates her and forces her to sell herself for sex. And maybe he even beats her if she says no or complains. The smart ones don't have to abuse. They have other ways to manipulate and control you. But now, in this example, she's like 25 years old. She's been arrested multiple times. She's looked down upon. Maybe she's even had a police officer use her and then let her go instead of arresting her. She drinks alcohol to cope or uses other drugs because it's an escape. Hey, if I was doing that, I'd be like, give me something, give me some drugs. I want to escape. This is too much. I want to not be here. So she's chronically homeless because where's she going to go? Where is she going to live? Who wants her? Maybe she gets into a substance abuse program. Maybe she's referred there. Well, maybe if you get clean, then you'll be okay. Sure. Maybe that'll help on some level, and maybe even some way, some of them are able to stop the drugs for a while, but then what? Because there's all that trauma, there's all that abuse, there's all that things that they believe about themselves that they just don't walk away from. They still believe that no one wants them. They still believe they're trash. So what can they do? Who's going to hire them? Does she have a high school diploma? After she's beaten again, as in the pictures we saw, she probably goes to an ER. Pretty much every victim goes to the ER frequently throughout their exploitation. So the ER and teaching a lot of people in the emergency room to look for signs, to understand, has been a big push. And there has been a lot of education and teaching, which is wonderful. But still, so many people that each person has to decide for themselves how they look at that person. But sometimes they are looked down on, like, girl, what the heck are you doing? Make some better choices in your life. Stop doing drugs. Why do you get away from this man? And they don't know it's their owner, or they don't know it's the one who paid them and gave them money to do this to them. Again, these things that we have automatic thoughts and judgment upon people that happen in the ER as well, happen in treatment abuse things as well, people looking down on them. So hopeless with no other options, they stay in this cycle, because where are they going to go if someone's not offering something different? Someone isn't seeing them as a broken, shattered person who needs to be loved, needs opportunities to heal, and safety and growth. As you'll see on page 12 of your packet, what they believe about themselves. And often 4 main groups in society prove to them what the pimps or their traffickers tell them. I say pimp or traffickers because really they are the same thing. Pimp is a word that's been around a long time, but a trafficker is that new word for trafficking, but they are the same. Pimps were always traffickers. So what they believe is nobody wants them. They are trash. It is always their fault. They have no value except to be sold, to be used for sex. Law enforcement often shows this to them. Many, again, because they each as an individual have to see them as a person. And law enforcement, again, is if they're caught breaking the law, right, their job is to bring them in. It used to be a lot of law enforcement used to say, let's go pick up the trash. That was the ladies on the street corner. But it was ignorance. It's not that all the police were terrible. They didn't get it. Like, they're breaking the law, so they arrest them. Now there's lots of training with law enforcement as well, but still, there are those, right, that still believe these things and don't understand these things, and it is still against the law. But then there's also, most people aren't on street corners anymore. There are street corners in places, but there are just so many other ways. I mean, again, the government gives free phones. So they can have appointments set up on their phone, and especially if a pimp or trafficker is selling them, it can be on their phone. Medical professionals, as I've given example already, religious groups, some people that go on the street or do the street outreach, and again, with ignorance, or maybe right intentions but not understanding, with ignorance, or again being used by the enemy, like out there condemning, telling people to repent instead of loving them and meeting them where they're at. That's not the kind of religious thing we're a part of, by the way. We are part of the loving them where they're at, not the repent and get right with God. No. Legal system, again, the court system, as I have briefly mentioned, or families. So I said 4 groups, but it was changed to, it is 5 groups. Prove often it is family members, again, what they've experienced at home, or maybe they were the perpetrators, right? When it's the family selling them and torturing them, how do you think they could or would trust anyone? Where would they even look? If God created our family to be the ones that protect us and provide for us, and yet they're not, where would we go? Where do they go? Where do they seek help?
I was born and raised in a small town in Southern Oregon, and I was a good kid in school. I grew up in a normal middle-class family. I got great grades. I was really active in sports, and I even graduated a year early. I was accepted into Oregon State University, and I had my dorm room already assigned, and I was really excited to move up to Corvallis. But that summer I got pregnant by my boyfriend, and I had to make a real tough decision whether I was going to keep my baby and unenroll from university, or get an abortion and keep it all a secret. And that was a really tough summer for me. After I had the baby, I had some friends that had gone up to U of O to go to college, and they had an extra room in one of their apartments. It was at that time that I met a boy, or a guy, who pretended to take interest in me. I really thought he liked me, and we got along really well. He was really funny and charming, and he had a nice car, and he always picked up the tab. He had nice clothes. He told me he was a record producer, that he had a band up in Portland, and that's why he frequently went out of town. There's a saying that says, when you take a child by the hand, you take the mother by the heart. And I really think that's what happened for me, because I had this new little girl and this man who showed this desperate attention towards her, like he wanted to really help make this family that I really wanted for my daughter. And he invited me to move in with him after about 6 months of dating. And I was really excited. And I brought him down to Southern Oregon to meet my family, and everything seemed fine until we arrived in Las Vegas. He said we were moving there because that was the entertainment capital of the world, and being a record producer and having a band, that's where they were going to get the most gigs and the most jobs, and that's where his job was leading him. So I desperately wanted to go with him, to be with him, and to start this family that he promised me. He pulled up to an escort service and he said, "This is how it works in Vegas. I've spent a lot of money to get you here, but first and last on an apartment. I filled your fridge up with food, and you're going to need to earn that money back." And I felt trapped. I felt like, how am I going to get out of this? And you didn't know if you were going to live or die. You didn't know what he was going to do or what he was capable of. And so it was really scary. I can remember just running through the casino thinking, like, these people don't even have a clue what's going on. They're just, cha-ching, cha-ching, Las Vegas, yay! And they're doing all this stuff, and I'm running for my life. I'm running from a man that has forced me into doing things that I didn't want to do. When you have a trafficker that's waiting at home with your child and says, if you don't bring home $1,500, you're going to find your daughter out on the corner, I think I was probably more frightened to go home than I was to be in the room. Because if you got robbed, it was your fault for being stupid. If you got raped, it was your fault for not watching your back. Anything that happened to you was typically your fault, and you incurred more punishment for allowing those things to happen to you. So it made you always walk in fear of your trafficker.
Hopefully that gave you a little more depth of understanding of what we've been talking about as well. Again, what was her normal, and some choices that she made that led to more trauma. On the bottom of page 12, you'll see, we'll go there and into page 13 is, why don't they leave? Why don't they seek help? Again, where would they go? Who do they ask? Who would they trust? That's always so much of an illusion of choice for them when you're in survival mode. Even double bind choices, where it's, oh, you can do this or you could do this. But neither of them are really what they want, but they give them a choice, so they're thinking they're making a choice. Fearing most often is what keeps them trapped and enslaved. Also, if it is their normal, how do they know that they need help? What do they even ask for? Because as a child, how do they know they really need help? On some level, there's a knowing, but yet, because of their normal, they don't. So captivity, use of violence, shame, dependence, isolation, distrust. And basically, if there's just no hope, didn't mean to go there already. If there's no hope, there is no past, there is no future, there's just today. That's what it is when you survive. So looking at this list here on your page 13 and 14 is physically broken. Again, the beatings, the tortures, they're injected with things, eating disorders, emotional broken, brainwashed, Stockholm syndrome. Again, another reason how they are easy to control once there's that relationship that binds them to them. Interactions are monitored. Suicidal, self-harm, or thoughts are in their head. Psychologically, locked doors, locked in closets or basements, threats against others, mind control, depersonalization, derealization, DID, schizophrenia, again, borderline personality disorder, as I said, bipolar, OCD, ADD, HD, ADHD, anxiety, rage, terror, relationally broken, shame. Can you imagine the videos that are out there, never to be deleted, that they can't get rid of? Dependence, loyalty to the abuser, behavioral issues, narcissistic, self-focused, or again, the mother, the father, the family perpetrated the abuses, master manipulators. They, the victim, can be master manipulators. Again, just in surviving, depending on how long, what they've experienced, they often are. And even as they're healing, they don't always, they try to manipulate a lot, but it's not always evil intents. It's just an automatic. They just, it's what became their normal. And so they have to relearn. And then spiritually broken as well. The confusion of sexuality. Again, as I stated, they must do and perform and be with whomever pays. Resigned to the fact it will never get better. The belief that they are evil, that they deserve it. Many times they're called devils, they're called evil, they were called terrible things. The demonic oppression and possession upon them. So the mindsets of victims, again, profound fear and even often paranoia by things they've experienced. What, because of their normal, the paranoia is built up. Now, some people are diagnosed with different things about paranoia, but it's also just because of their experience that it makes sense why they have paranoia. Detachment from life, detachment, as I've said, derealization, depersonalization from themselves, eternalizing the blame, the guilt and the shame. If they wouldn't have, well, they allowed them, they trusted them, right? This is what they think. They see themselves solely through what has happened and with no future outlook, making excuses, not taking responsibility, blaming others. Those are all victim mentality, traffic victim mentality mindsets that are part of what has to be broke off of them, of lies, but based off their experiences are truth to them. And again, if we were in a group, we would now have a discussion. How does that make you feel? I'm sure a lot of this is heavy that I'm breezing through. I somewhat apologize for that. I want it to be heavy because I want it to be so real for you. I want you to feel the pain. I want you to feel the suffering that they must go through and how hard it must be to heal, how hard it's been and where they need to go. But then I want you to remember, remember, it is also about hope because they have breath. There is hope. If we do something, if we are praying, if we are speaking out, if we are gathering people and resources, helping in ways that we can, we are making a difference. I don't want you to stay stuck in the pain and stuck in the weight of this. I want it to motivate you. I want you to make an intentional decision of, so now what do I do with this? What does God want me to do with this? That's what I want you to do with it. I don't want you to stay down and I don't want you to think about all these horrific things all the time. I want your life to be full of delight and hope, but based in authentic reality as well. So in that, moving to the last module, volunteers, supporting, partnering, being a champion. This is on page 15 of your manual. I want to help you engage. I want to find ways that you can help and work directly for us. Hey, we can use your help. Even if it's once in a great while, we'll take it. We need so much all the time. We are dependent upon the community of people doing and providing the services indirectly and directly. So, what I'm inviting you to do is to do what you love. What is it that you love or what you have time for? You know, we all have different seasons of our life. Maybe you don't have much time right now. Maybe you do have some time you could fit in. Do you write? Do you write music? Can you teach? Are you good at crafts? Are you good at building things? Are you good at organizing, speaking, gardening, life skills? Sharing your talent, your skills, that's what we're looking for, and also your time. She is human, you are human, so you can help her. It really is that simple. You don't have to have deep training to be helpful. You can help in administration, you can help in leadership, you can help in fundraising. Again, very indirect, but it is helping her. Because without the administration, without the leadership, without the fundraising, there is no helping her. We take volunteers and we have to pay some staff. It does take money, and I am super frugal. So it is not, I am not wasteful in any way. Everybody can do something. Everyone matters. Every detail matters. Men, yes, men. Men can even do direct help with women because they need to see real men. What are real men like that value women and don't want to use them and exploit them? What are they? Who are they? What are they like? Couples sharing together their experiences so that they can learn that, oh, people, men and women can be together and it isn't just about performance. They need this. Church groups, college students, business leaders. She needs you. Compassion is hard because it requires the inner disposition to go with others to the place where they are weak, vulnerable, lonely, and broken, as Henry Nouwen wrote. So there's some questions there for you to ponder, to think about. I want to encourage you that our God loves us without condition, unrelenting forever. He loves us broken. He loves making us whole again. He makes us love, and he asks us, those of us, to love him, to love others the same way, to choose them, to be agents of his hope, his forgiveness, his grace. He asks us to join in rescuing others. We're not really their rescuers, but we're their helpers. We're their support. We're their support team. We often can hold back. It may be because we don't feel qualified. We think we lack courage, strength, wisdom, money, experience, education, organization, backing. You may be thinking, not me. I'm afraid, unqualified, daunted. But really, it's your willingness. If you will just choose to be willing to help in some way, donating, volunteering, sharing your skills, whatever it is, please, please consider, look at this. Mother Teresa had a great quote that none of us, including me, ever do great things, but we can all do small things. With great love, together we can do something wonderful. And that's really what we believe, that together we can do something wonderful. Volunteers have become staff. Volunteers have become friends with survivors. The last quote from Beth Grant I'll share before I share this video is, human compassion is selective. And unfortunately, this is even true with Christians. But Christ's compassion is not. And that is the foundation of the good news of God's grace and the gospel. God sent his Son to seek and save the lost and promises new life to all who call upon his name and begin the journey of faith with him. We, especially as followers of Jesus, must acknowledge the uncomfortable truth that this is happening. This is essential if we are to address the injustice and help victims find deliverance, healing, and the transformation that Christ has promised to all who call upon his name for help. So, through God's redemptive plan, we can be used to invade the most intimate form of injustice in our world. So my question is, will you join us?
Human trafficking has been around as long as humans have been around. Using people for their advantage. And actually really turning them into a product to be sold and benefiting from them. So slavery, always been around, that is trafficking. Sex trafficking specifically is using someone for sex, selling them online, selling them out of their home or on the street corner, anywhere, any way they can figure it out and manipulate, it's where it's being done. A lot of people actually think, well, it's just in the inner city. So like for some reason, that's not a big deal because I guess those people don't matter, or in faraway countries. But really, it is about where people live, and it is about choices that they make, justifications that they make, whatever their reasons. It's usually about power and control, that they decide that they could purchase a person to use them, and then they have every right to get what they want because they paid for it, and the person selling them is just looking at a great opportunity to make money. That's why even gangs and the mob even use trafficking now, because it's actually a much better business than selling drugs, because you can resell a person over and over. But the manipulation, the coercion, the using others to make them a product, no longer really a human, treating them as a thing. And it's disgusting because it happens to our kids, and it happens to adults, or it happens throughout their whole lifetime.
Hi, Martha. I am a survivor of human trafficking, addiction, and homelessness. When I was 13, I kind of stepped into a situation that I didn't know what I was getting myself into. My bus driver sexually abused me. And from that point forward, I remember I was much older and looked back at my old school report cards and realized that right after that happened, all my grades went from A's and B's to D's and F's. It progressed towards running away, and I ended up in downtown Minneapolis. And unfortunately, I was preyed upon by pimps and drug dealers, and even the girls who were with the pimp. And they took me out of state, and it just progressed from there. It was a horrible feeling, not having any idea where I was. And 14 years old, I had no idea what to do.
A girl most often can be in a relationship with an older boy, and that older boy begins to groom her and give her all these things to make her feel special and loved, and then lay on the sob story of, you know what, I really need your help. And if you just do this, then we can, pay for the rent, or we'll have food this month. And that's really the key. The vulnerability is the key of the victims to be manipulated into things that none of us would dream of. And certainly they didn't ever want to do. A young girl sold by the neighbor girl to an older guy down the street so that that woman who sold her get money to buy her drugs. Now, the young girl didn't know that she was going there for that. She was lied to, manipulated why she was going over to the man's house. But the girl decided to do it because she needed money for drugs. Familial trafficking. Mothers will sell their kids. And me as a mother, I can barely comprehend that. But when you are addicted to a drug, you do not have the capacity to think clearly, to make good decisions. And often that is the case, that they are involved in drugs and someone makes an offer to them. Well, if I could use your child for this or that, I'll give you some money, or I'll give you the drugs. And then that happens as well. Fathers, uncles, cousins can sell relatives out of their own home or out of their own school.
I was taken by the police many times and returned home. Unfortunately, What happened when I got home was my mother would not allow me to come home. She made me a ward of the state. I was tossed from group home to group home, recovery homes to recovery homes. I never made it in the foster system, but the rest was just as difficult. Every time I would go, I told the judge, if you send me there and the doors are not locked, I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to stay. I'm going to take off again. And I always ended up caught by the exact same person who had taken me out of state in the first place. Or even sometimes I ran to them because I had no idea what else to do.
When you're no longer human, it's hard to feel normal, to think normal, to even dream or hope. I mean, what a horrible place to be. I mean, that's survival. They have been broken in like all 5 ways that make them human. Our physical health has to do with our emotional mental health. Our emotional mental health has to do with relationships, spiritual health. All of that is all intertwined in what makes us human. So you can't just focus on one area. And so really that is the biggest hurdle, is how are you able to help work with them on all those areas at the same time to help them become human again. So I met Martha. Her and another lady, we'll call her advocate, had come to one of our presentations. The community presentations were there, and then they came up to me afterwards, and I got to meet them. And she asked if she could help us. She's like, "That's really awesome that you're going to open a home, and oh, how great that would be. I wish I could have gone to a home, but can I help you?" And so she would come in the office at times and help with filing, and she would type and just things. And but in that was building relationship as well. There's a lot of talking. Send her the note cards, send her the texts, again, invite her to group things, take her out to eat once in a while, like celebrate her birthday, bring her flowers. Again, just what you would do for a good friend or someone you care about and love. And that's what we would do. And she had been clean, and there was a process. She was clean for 5 years, and then she started to have some very serious physical issues and other circumstances. She started to struggle again with addiction. So that relationship got deeper and more connected throughout. There's been some really hard times to sit back and not be able to do anything. We can't fix it. We can't stop it. And the other times just to hear, like, especially now in this new season she's in, there's a new joy in her that has not been there before. And I don't foresee her really going backwards. I think this is another whole deeper level, and I'm really excited for her.
I praise Redeem and Restore for helping me just feel confident enough to make and set goals and to make them happen. The secrets don't need to stay secret anymore. My tragedies don't have to stay secret anymore. Redeem and Restore has helped me gain confidence enough to talk about it. My goals now are to just continue on the journey that God has put me on, to be a hope in darkness for women who have suffered.
We really have had the pleasure to walk alongside women, giving them love, restoration, and support in ways that we're able. And now that we have this place, a location, a safe place, they can come here, but we can do it even better. Sex trafficking is really huge, and we can't stop it, but each of us can have a part in intervening and making a difference in helping bring restoration. We don't have to work directly with women. By giving support on a monthly basis financially, you are partnering with us. You are saving other families from brokenness. You are helping bring in women that have no hope to find hope. You are the one that is helping save women's lives. You are an integral part of redeeming and restoring women's lives from the evil darkness of sex trafficking.
Thank you. for taking this time to learn. And if you do have follow-up questions, please send them to my email, Krista at Redeem and Restore Center, and I will get back to you. We can connect. Thank you. Thank you for learning, and thank you for how you will engage and be used to help others, whether directly with Redeem and Restore Center or on your own. Have a wonderful day.